Oh my God. Season 2, episode 1 of The Mandalorian was fantastic. I didn't know what to expect. I'm going to start off spoiler free just so I can put it on my Instagram, give you all a preview, and then we'll jump right into the spoilers. But man, this was a good episode. Very familiar. If you've seen the first season, you're going to feel very familiar with what's going on, where the story is taking us. The soundtrack, oh my God, the soundtrack's pretty dope. I mean, some of the familiar sounds with just little different tempos and stuff. But I think there's some new songs in there too. I think it was really good. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out. It's not, if you've been paying attention to spoilers, it's not just anything like that. It's pretty tame, but still delivers in so many different areas. I think our main character, the Mandalorian, he really shined for me. But again, go check it out yourself. If you haven't seen it yet, what are you waiting for? It's the time to do it. Let's get into the spoilers now. What's up, y'all? I'm so excited to talk about this episode of The Mandalorian. We've been waiting so long for this to come. COVID, all this stuff. We didn't know when it was going to happen. It's going to get delayed. But here we are, getting our first season and our first episode of this season, and it did not disappoint. Picks up just where the other one left off. One of the things I noticed, I'm going to try to talk about the episode in terms of what have happened, but mostly just peel back everything I saw already. And that being that the Mandalorian, our main character, he's come a long way. I really liked him in this episode. He's so much more confident. He's always been a warrior, right? But he seems to be much more just confident and just sure of himself and who he is. Everybody that comes across him, they see this Mandalorian armor, this Beskar. Obviously, he's a lethal weapon. But he's also got the child with him, and he knows that's kind of I won't say soften them up, but he's just thought about life a little bit differently, and you can see him kind of developing. I saw some things like that throughout this episode where he's talking to the Tusken Raiders, where he's trying to lead the two groups to come together. Those are things that I don't think he was ready to do. Definitely in the first season, but as time has gone on, even the droids, he meets up with the lady from Tatooine, and what's funny, if you guys see my review, I didn't like that first Tatooine episode as much as others, but now, it all makes sense. That entire episode that I clowned is all worth it now because, the little daycare lady or the mechanic, she was much better for me seeing her again. And then obviously, some of the hints of things that we saw in that episode, I probably should go back and watch. We see here, Boba's armor is with some guy in some village. He's a marshal. He stole it, or not stole it. He paid for it with the Jawas, and he's just been kind of rocking Boba's armor, and doing some work. And we get to see even just from a civilian, just having that armor, you can become the man. You can take over. If you got that armor, he's got the jetpack, got a little rocket. He's got his gun. He's very now he's starting to feel like a Mandalorian. He thinks he can do something. This is going to stay on the video. We are going to proceed because, again, that was actually an issue. I was just putting that together. You guys know this is a new setup, just behind the scenes stuff. And I thought about taking it down because I couldn't get it to hold. But anyway, we're just going to pick up right along like nothing happened. Anyway, let's continue. I did want to talk about the guy that was wearing the Mandalorian armor, for the village there. He tells us a story about how he got it. He talks about the night that the second Death Star is blowing up. Their entire city's gathered around and watching it it's a huge event. I think that's awesome. We get to see that as fans. That's one of the things we always wanted from this Mandalorian series, is to show us the behind the scenes, show us the regular everyday people. While all this grand stuff's going on with the galaxy and the politics and the Force, show us what's going down in the lower levels, and that's what this show has done so well. We've seen things like this in Rogue One and just hints across other things in canon, but I think that was really good to see. And then obviously, once that happens, a lot of different people took advantage of the fact that there was no established order yet, and obviously their town got taken advantage of until he was able to get the armor from Boba, which I think we kind of saw coming somewhere that Boba's armor would show up at some point. But again, I'll kind of talk about it. I don't want to talk about it too much, but let's talk about just the plot of this episode a little more, where obviously there's this beast of a creature, which I give him a lot of credit. This creature was pretty impressive. Its size, its scale, but then also, the acid it's spitting out. It was he was a challenge, but he was also just a very like just imposing, you know, creature. I liked him. So shout out for them for that, you know. But again, it was pretty much nothing too much to talk about. I mean, they had to make a plan to beat it. They try to use different things as bait. They're having to come together with the Tusken Raiders, and that's more the message that the village has to come with the Raiders, you know, who have to come together to defeat a common enemy. So that's more the message they wanted to get across. But for us, you know, people that want to talk about the episode and the grand things that are going to happen, and I have a feeling this is going to play itself out just like the first season did, where the first 2 or 3 episodes are all kind of one episode, and it's going to have some things that are kind of random stuff, and it's going to, towards the end, you know, stay just straight on some specific story. But what we need to know here is that obviously the Mando is still seeking, you know, Mandalorians so he can find help and where to take Baby Yoda. And he's got the Boba's armor now. You know, he was able to get that from the, I'm forgetting everybody's name now, forgive me, but at the end of the episode, that's where I was trying to get to, where we get to see Boba, and that kind of hit me, man, because Boba's a character we've seen. Not only have we seen Jango, but then we see Boba from a child get to see his father's head chopped off, you know, by Mace, and then grow up through the Clone Wars and obviously the original trilogy. Now here he still stands. Like here Boba Fett still stands, you know. Like that's crazy, you know, and he's obviously, you know, battle scarred. Like who knows what his mental is right now, but I mean, he's not anybody to be messed with. I'm sure he wants his armor. I'm sure that's what he wants. I'm sure he's been going after, trying to figure out a way to get his armor, and now he's going to come across our Mandalorian somehow. We don't know if it's going to be next episode or, you know, what's going to happen, but man, it's all exciting stuff. Like he just looked like Jango. Like I was just imagining, like it looks so good. It was a great shot. You got to be happy with what we saw here. Again, it wasn't like blowing the load, just over the top. It was very, you know, stuck to the story we're telling in this episode. But, you know, from the things we get to see with the galaxy, where they're watching the Death Star blow up, Boba Fett, you know, still around. Our main character, the Mandalorian, like the fact that he's just growing up, he's got his Beskar on, got his jetpack. He just, again, I was impressed with his character in this episode. Just, he seems to be really growing and becoming just a better character, you know, not just in power and in combat, but also just in morals and leadership and things like that. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Like I said, I have a review for each and every one that's coming out. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're new. Follow me on Instagram, where I have a ton of Star Wars content, man. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, so let's get it. All right.